What's up guys, Kirk Gibson here. Today I'm going to show you how to guard, play defense on the one in the stack and orbit correctly so that when you're playing defense against the one in the stack, who is the primary cutter in scoring opportunities, if you can make that pass difficult, you're going to put yourself and your team in the best position to win. Okay, so now we're set up. We've got the thrower marking, the thrower and a flick mark, and I'm guarding Luke on the force side here. So this is the basic foundational setup. Assuming Luke is one in the stack, we're basically lined up in the end zone. Chris with the Frisbee is just outside of the end zone. We'll call it about 10 yards out. This is the foundation of where I'm gonna set up. I'm just maybe a yard off of him. I'm slightly towards the four side because this is where Petey is forcing the disc to be thrown, and he's also guarding that space on the breaks. The reason why I like setting up here and not anywhere else, and we'll go over these later, the reason why I like setting up here is because you're shaded to the four side. So essentially any space shot out this way is almost impossible because I have already a step on the receiver. If he wants to go into the four side down, I'm basically blocking that. He's got to come through me. And then if he wants to go to the break side, which is the weakness of this position, that is Pete's responsibility, the marker's job to stop it. But why I like setting up below Luke, a little bit downfield from him, is that if a backhand, which is typically the throw that would go off, I'm a little closer to the thrower to potentially cut it off. And then if it does go around, I have more space to make up that ground. So other people like to maybe set up directly onto the side. I don't personally like this. The reason why is because if you're guarding a quick defender, they can just sneak right through here, right? So Luke could make a quick step and I'm behind, making that an easier throw. But if I'm here and I'm on this side, I can kind of beat him to that spot, or I'm already here. Makes it in a shorter window, it's harder for him to get around me. But if I line up here tight onto the side or even behind, that he can get that step much more easily. The other reason why I don't typically line up like directly sideways on him or very close, on rare circumstances I may do that, but the other reason why is because he can maybe use his momentum to come into me a little bit and then go this way, and then I have to go completely around him. The other thing he could do is come into me a little bit and then fake as if he's going to run full speed that way, and then I try to go either this way or this way, and then he can just flip right back around and go to the force side. So that's why I think the best spot in this neutral position in the center of field is just about a yard off. I could be about 45 degrees or maybe about this, but I'm not looking at the Frisbee. You can kind of look, but in this situation, I'm just locked on his eyes right here. What is he looking at? What's the potential? I'm on the balls of my feet. And if he goes this way, I've already got a step. And if he goes this way, what not to do. Don't immediately turn to see if he's got that. So if Luke does that, sprints, and I turn, he can then come right back this way because I've lost him. So wait for that up sound when you're guarding him. If he goes this way, don't immediately turn to see if the disc is up. Wait for the sideline to make that up call. Okay, so now we're going to simulate the thrower being on this sideline or close to the sideline. The principles are essentially the same. And the marker is going to at least start at 45-degree angle as he would in the center of the field, just for this first example. And I'm going to line up where I was in the middle. And I'm going to show you why this doesn't work and why you have to adjust when the disc is on the other side of the field. So if I were to line up essentially in the same space that I was in the center, about a yard off, a little off center, the mark's the same. If I don't do adjust and the receiver one cuts to the break side, that's a pretty open throw. So adjustments need to be made to be able to prevent that, because Luke didn't even catch that on the break side. That was essentially an open side throw. So how do I stop this throw? So what I'm going to do is, even though the standard setup is to, if the marker is on the break side and this is technically the open side, because the thrower is positioned over there, I got to do something to prevent this throw. So what I'm going to do is actually rotate. If the disc is on this side of the field and the one in the stack's here near the middle, I'm going to rotate on the break side. I need to prevent this easy four-side throw, okay? But there's a place where you want to do it. If I go too far this way, now the thrower can just throw a nice easy space shot. So I've got to find the balance in between. And the general rule of thumb is get in between the receiver and the thrower. If you're kind of lost or you're not really sure when you're on the field, things are moving pretty quick, general rule of thumb, get in between the receiver and the thrower. That's generally what I like to do. And I don't do a lot of kind of face guarding, because then you can lose your receiver. So I would start here, especially in close quarters. I would either be like this, or I would shade just a little bit to the left so I could see a little bit and face and see both ways. That's where you're going to want to be, because now if the receiver cuts this way, I'm here and I can stop this throw. There is an open throw here. If I'm in between the receiver and the thrower, the open throw is over here. But the reason why I think this is the best place to be, or slightly like this, depending on how close it is because this is the hardest throw to throw, and it's the longest throw. So just like in the center, I'm giving up the throw that is the longest and gives me the most space to potentially catch up and prevent that. And especially in a windy condition, this is a hard throw. So if I either position myself here or here, with kind of either looking over my shoulder, I may be slightly closer just to have a hand to figure out where my receiver is. If they try to attempt that, I can potentially cut that off. Another reason that this is a good place to be, and that leaving this as the most open throw, is that the rest of the stack will be behind and towards the center of the field, and their defenders will be close and be able to potentially cut that throw off, right? So they'll be in a position to also make a play in case there's an errant throw. Okay, so now we're going to simulate. Again, Chris has the disc about 10 yards out of the end zone, which is about what we're simulating here. He's on this sideline, on the right sideline, flick mark. So in this situation, the marker tends to usually wrap around a little bit more, preventing the no around, but then that sometimes leaves these inside throws a little bit more open. So we've got to adjust for that. So if Luke here is roughly the one in the stack, I'm again generally going to be positioned somewhere close to in between. The four side is this side. I probably won't be directly facing him in this situation. I probably won't be too far over like this. The two most dangerous things this person needs to guard, which I see happen all the time, is if Luke is making or fakes an under a round cut, a dump cut, and then I bid and look at the frisbee, and then he comes around and I get twisted up. So that's the first thing you got to guard against. And then the other thing is, if I play too much around here, he may fake an under and just turn around and go up the line. And if this is a good thrower, that could potentially be an easy throw. So where I, again, want to prevent is, again, don't get caught up too much in trying to beat them to the dump. That's what the marker is supposed to stop. So here, I generally want to position myself. So before, I was face guarding almost completely, in some cases completely. But here, it's a little better to try, if you can, to have a little bit of an open stance and at least see what the thrower is doing. Sometimes it's not possible. It just depends on how close you are. Things can change. But if I was playing where Chris is, he's about a little over 10 yards out from the end zone and I'm on the end zone line, I would probably play right here. So I'm a little bit in between. I'm shading this a little bit. Why? Because it's the longest and it's the hardest throw and I can make up the most ground. I'm over here. If I shade him too far this way, this could be a zipped pass right here and I don't have enough time to potentially catch up. So that's why I'm shading, if at all, I'm shading a little bit this way. So if he wants to try to beat me in this short space to get 5 yards close to the end zone, I'm in the way. And if he does get something, it might end up just being a yard or two, and that's okay. So I'm gonna be here. I'll be generally face guarding if there's a chance, depending on where he's set up, because if he lines up a little bit closer, well, that now gives me an opportunity to open up a little bit because there's not much room back here for him to go. So if that's the case, I don't need to move my hips or have them ready to go this way. I can keep my hips facing, I can keep my hips like this, because if I get turned around, he's only got a few more yards till the sideline. So that is a basic overview of how to guard the one in the stack in the best way possible to prevent those easy scores. And we simulated about 10 yards out and where to position yourself. There are exceptions because as ultimate, just the game is, you can be closer, the thrower and receiver can be farther away, and there's always adjustments. But as I said, a general rule is think about where the easiest throw is on the field, or get yourself in between the thrower and the receiver, especially when they're on that open side. Thank you guys for watching. If you got any ideas or other videos that you want to see next, drop them in the comments below. Thanks for watching. God bless.